Well, here we are. We're just going to dive in with both feet like a real mermaid and hope that eventually when we come to how it goes to YouTube, which we just did see a way, sort of, that we could be talking to you and it would be live on our YouTube channel. But we're going to request, we've learned how to do that as we get older, some assistance in bringing it to you and uploading it and maybe going through that 89th tutorial on how to upload these recordings from this point to YouTube. And so we couldn't go past this point. We've been really trying to get to this point of making ourselves more comfortable in the space that reaches out and brings those messages that are coming through, those updates, Kindred news, what's happening, that kind of thing. If you review at all the things that are already on our Kindred of Sangoma YouTube channel, we were by a quarterly nature mostly doing seasons such as this. And indeed, we are in a season, are we not? And to everything, there is a season. And so we find ourselves in just past that anniversary, the year anniversary of our departure for South Africa last year. We find ourselves sitting with you on International Women's Day within the history or herstory month celebration of women. And we just say we could never line it up better than the ancestors do. They always find a way to bring these things into the exact alignment and progression that they belong. And so this we're calling the March Roar. We remember when we were little, they would tell us March comes in roaring like a lion and it goes out like a lamb, making way for the April showers. Things like that. Maybe they fit, maybe they don't. We're trying to beat the rain today, headed down to Oyotunji. And we just couldn't leave. We just couldn't leave the house without getting this connection with you personally. And so we said, well, you see a lot of pictures go by and here's Sangoma here and here she is over there and that type of thing all through social media. But these we reserve. You don't see us Facebook or Instagram or TikTok popping. You don't see us out there a lot because, and I say to people, and they ask me, well, why don't you? Of course, you have this background as a news reporter. So it's not that you have a fear of being very public. Why don't you, do something regular? We are thinking about that podcast way out there when we get a little further into how we bring all of this, as we said to the Wild Darlings the other night. They were so beautifully presenting us a performance gift of their poetry and gratitude and thoughts. And if you're not familiar, 2 years ago now, we shot the film Wild Darlings, Song of Freedom, on the Tuckahoe Plantation in Virginia. And so this is a collective of young women that we had the opportunity to enter into the covenants and agreements of our ancestors first. And yes, we made a film together, and now that film is almost finishing its editing project. So we shall see if 2024 actually holds the premiere of that film. But of course, the closeness between all of us as a collective had them just place on my heart so many beautiful things, which you'll see as the promotions come forward for our Faces of True Teller Tarot. We are going to definitely embody some of the expressions that they gave to us because, we always like it when people come into our presence or our company and they nail it. They say, and many times it happens for me as we come into presence and we kind of just see all the parts of the aura and the inner being And certainly these wild darlings saw that for me. And we wanted to just pierce through some of the things that may go by in a minute. And at this point of our technology and texts and Zooms and all the parts, emails and stuff like that, we find that a number of things are falling through the cracks. And so here we are on the edge of our spring quarter in the mystery school. We're taking pre-orders now for Faces of Truth Tellers Tarot, and the season is upon us. Spring is about to birth, and so we wanted to come to you in a very personal way and invite you to acknowledge some things. And what we have noticed on this side of now acknowledging our ancestors and spirit guides as the truth tellers, as we have come into that personal relationship with them. We sat on the porch the other night and just jotted down some things that we would go over at this point and present so that you would hear it direct from the horse's mouth. Okay. So, what is going on? Well, here we are on Friday, and registration has really already closed for the season of the Bat Rebirth, which begins next Tuesday night, Temple Time. And of course, you can always reach out to us. And we would, of course, send the Zoom link if you want to be a part of that. But we only have a few. What we noticed in all of the promotions that we put out there is that people are really being pulled and just scattered apart in terms of keeping things ever present in prioritizing. And part of why we are coming to you on this video is because we feel as the words go by, perhaps everyone is not in a similar understanding or overstanding of the actual basis and reason that we would bring something to you, because it's simple enough that we could have just gone through the last year, produced this tarot deck, oracle, and had the deck release. And we have some that are lined up for various stores in Asheville. They'll be with us, of course, as we go to our Earth Skills event, Spring Rendezvous coming up in April, Firefly coming up in June. And so they will happen. What we need to do, or what we are in the midst of doing, is inviting you to our website to pre-order your deck. And there's a few reasons for that. One is that within the number of decks that we order, there will be a limited edition of those that are signed, those that come with medicine bags and real discounts and coupons and things to come to the Truth Tellers retreat, which just at this moment we're saying is the first weekend in April, because there's only 4 online gatherings of the spring quarter of the Mystic School of Alchemy. And usually we have 6, our Season of the Raven, if you're familiar. And so we're just done. We're almost done, really, with the Zoom calls and chatting in the boxes and what we have learned so much time in nature and in the presence of the sacred is that we like the sacred in nature. We prefer it. You could be in the machine world, or you could choose the sacred round of fire. And we prefer to watch very supernatural things happen, very huge shifts that happen as our collective energies and auras are in the presence of one another. And, our opinion is that the machine world is just a simulation of maybe trying to attempt that. So that's first. I could stop here or just kind of turn on the left of this corner of Mystic School of Alchemy and say it occurs to me that not a lot of people have ever even really given any deep thought to mystery schools. And we're just real blessed to have the Growing Goddess Mystery School, which you may or may not know about. You may see that every summer for maybe the last 5-6 years, we have been the village elder and Grammy on a team, on a beautiful dream team with village aunties that facilitate rites of passage for young maidens. And a mystery school evolved out of that, which is now probably moving into its second year. It happens every Thursday evening at Weaving Rainbows in Asheville, North Carolina, and we've been there twice, and I look to go again. We try to squeeze out where we can get that Thursday out of our month, and now that they have African dance classes there as well on Saturday mornings, then we are really trying to shift our schedule where at least once or twice a month we're there. But as I said to those young maidens, the forward destruction and demise of the goddess and the goddess realms in which mystery schools were important, because you will not learn unless you have a mentor, an elder, a shaman, someone ahead of you that these oral traditions and these rituals and ceremonies have been passed down to. They're not teaching this in public education. They never have. They're not teaching this in church. They never have. And so the return of the mystery schools is important. It's really important. The basic reason is a number of things that are labeled in that overall umbrella of mental illness or bipolar or whatever you want to say to the things that are outside the box of our norm, are many times things between the worlds that, shall we say, science and Western medicine doesn't want to answer. Maybe whatever. There's a lot of parts to that. Each doctor and physician, they've taken their oaths. And so they cannot really speak to you about the entrance of things that are happening to many of us now in the Great Awakening on the planet. And that sense of having deeper conversations with the and understanding the I and embodied in the oversoul, and the oversoul connected to the realms of our ancestors, angels, spirit guides, and how we just think that's voices in our head. Because who would you ask about it that wouldn't look at you and go, okay, are you off your meds? And so mystery schools are that welcoming, safe space where we can speak freely about our gifts of divinity, gifts of the spirit, which they were even referred to in the Bible, and examine how they feel in us, what they came for, how to use them, how to master them, how to carry them in balance where they don't shoot the ego out into places it should not go, which we see a lot of that right about here. And it also teaches us to whom much is given, much is required. If you have these gifts, the sight, clairaudience, or clairvoyant, basically, which means you can hear things. And we've noticed lately that our hearing, like a wolf, is picking up for further and further and further. And I'm like, wow. I didn't know I could hear that far now. And so not only hearing the what we would think were just our thoughts or our own impressions, but you're really hearing from other dimensions or other realms. I like to say, before I even knew what was really going on, I would describe it to people like being a fly on the wall. How would I know exactly this or that or the other that was said when I wasn't present? I wasn't even there. And so I remember just this morning in one of our counseling sessions, as we are listening and then allowing that information to come through us, regardless to where it's coming from. My ancestors, the client's ancestors, it spoke of the prodigal son, and she was astounded. She was like, "Wow, my parents really have named me the prodigal child." Like, how would you know that? I said, "That's exactly right. How would I know that? I wouldn't. I just met you a minute ago at Florida Earth Skills." So these are the things that we want to lovingly hold each other in and honor in each other in a way that doesn't seem extreme or crazy or, abstract. This is where we're going. The awakening for this age of Aquarius is in this season. And so we can recognize it and try to find some familiars, some place, some solid ground in it, or we could continue to try to ignore it and keep shopping at Wally World, whatever it is. But we then know the core and the root and the direction of our divine destiny in this particular lifetime. And we are here as a spiritual midwife to walk alongside. I always say that to people that come and we mentor or we're working with and stuff like that. I say, yeah, I'll walk with you while you're rebirthing, but at no time am I going to have the baby. I'm simply walking with you as you come to a different layer of rebirthing yourself. And so that might take us to our crowns of Isis and update that, which is a year long, or actually 13 nations, rites and passages. And we're just amazed and pleased that we now have 3 graduated crowns, 2 of which are in Florida, and 1 is in Asheville, North Carolina. And we're continuing to gather. We have 1 incoming so far in this year. She's down in Florida as well. And so there, actually the Truth Tellers retreat that we're looking forward to in April is a combination of the crowns, women who are seeking to be witnessed and acknowledged in their rites of passage. And because again, like the mystery schools, this isn't something that we really placed in a sacred space, and then we cannot say that debutantes or finishing schools or all the versions, Girl Scouts of these passages of females are not sacred. They probably are in a certain way, but the ways in which we connect ourselves like that to the phases of the moon, the lunations, our bleeding time, how it works, where are the rhythms that steady all of the women that came before us, and certainly will steady us, will give us a map to where we are not lost at any time in our own life. We are not standing back and allowing the narratives that others place on us to direct our path. We are actually under our own crown, whether you can see it or not, moving in our own sovereignty. And this is just required, is it not? It's just required. You have too many women, self-medicating, prescriptions, drugs, meth, alcohol, sex. It's just off the rails. And so when we find that the reconnection of the sacred divine, the complete understanding of our cellular memory and DNA and what we came with from our birthright, then we say, okay, you know what I mean? I came to bring my A game. I'm not trying to take Eddie Wooden Nichols here. I really do know. I've had a long enough conversation with the I and I, and with the ancestors and the ancestral energy around how I walk through Earth School in this particular lifetime. And most of all, after the bacon is fried, what will remain? What are the legacies we'll leave behind? So, of course, for a mother of 3 beautiful daughters and 12 beautiful grandchildren, and now 4 beautiful great grandchildren, that thought enters our mind very shortly. Very shortly, as I say to people, you may see me work on many different missions, but what you always know is I am employed by the future generations that come through the womb of my womb of my womb. And I don't ever get lost on that. And I want more women that are, just barreling through, pushing through, holding on by their fingernails in all of the challenges, the emotional challenges, mental challenges, financial challenges. I want them to have something solid that's theirs, that they were born with, to hold on to for their empowerment. So there is that. And let's see, what else shall we go to? What's unique and what shall we say about the truth tellers and why they came to this birth and this season of an election year, a time of great deception when we're trying to figure out what is it we trust, what is it we believe, and why, who told it to us, how do we know it's true? And so these truth tellers, the story is in the book it began, really with the Lensa app that our middle daughter shared with us. And we were kind of afraid to look at the images, because we could see ourselves, but we could also see faces of many aunties and many wise women that had given us a lot of wisdom and a lot of direction, a lot of support in our upbringing. And so eventually, as we were on the other side of the world there in Johannesburg, very early on, didn't, hit the ground, boots running. Yes, we're there and we're in Africa, breathing it in, listening to all the exotic birds and just amazed by so many things, but that's another story. And we are saving some South African storytelling for another YouTube special. But these truth tellers really began to download to me. And we've always thought that some others were sitting with me. We've been journaling since we were 11, real young. And now we are almost at our 70th dance around the sun. So that's a lot of years and a lot of journals. And as I go back from time to time and read different ones of them, I'm like, ooh, who was talking there? Wow. Why was that coming through? And so, yeah, Alex Howe, Bush Ninja, who graciously escorted us. Well, not really escorted. He met me over there, and then he was the catalyst and the tour guide and the buddy, and now my adopted grandson that led us all through. Oh my goodness, from Johannesburg, Soweto, and down to Cape Town, and all up the eastern coast and the Hogback Mountain. But again, that's another story. And he observed that, daily I would be sitting with these little papers out of my sketchbook, just drawing and writing and drawing and writing. And I said to him, I said, Alex, I said, this is a tarot deck. I know what it is. I said, and I am in the amazement that, all I have to do is get the pen and they just tell me what they're bringing, what truth they're bringing. So that now is actually tangibly here. And as a matter of fact, we're in the process of the demo deck being printed. And so here it is. And you can go to the website and pre-order, as we said. And we are not just putting it in stores as something to sell among the hundreds of thousands of tarot decks. We have at least 25, 30 of them that we have owned. What we feel is different is that this oracle combines the playing deck of cards, which of course was the first tarot that was carried by the gypsies. But if you know your history of tarot, you already know that. And so it falls, these truth tellers fall not only in the four directions, east, south, west, north, but they also fall clubs, diamonds. The water is hearts, of course, our tears, our emotions. And then the north is spades, the symbol of the magi. So it's an oracle of many layers. Why? Because it's helping us peel back the lies that we continue to tell ourselves about ourselves, and is seeking to show us the light, the bright light in our lighthouses, where we can simply, with grace and ease, walk in our own truth and candor. So that's what I kind of wanted to share with you about why I think it's important. And, the flightiness of people trying to believe one thing today and then adopt it just so it'll fit better with the people they're hanging out with tomorrow. And then it's got to change by next week because we got a new job. Like, that's really crazy. And that is not, and I do mean, it's kind of like doing the same thing, expecting different results, insanity. And so we're not doing that anymore. We're not doing that anymore. We show up as our best selves, the best that we can do in the moment. And the Yoruba proverb says, he who knows doesn't die like he who doesn't know. And so even though these memories and ancient teachings live in our cellular DNA or the Akashic records, maybe we don't have the awareness. Again, life without a mystery school for hundreds and hundreds of years since any of us have been on the planet, or even vaguely heard about the teachings of how to unraveled truths, like the ones that built the pyramids, or the ones that are living with our extraterrestrials down under the oceans and down under the earth. There are many things that are coming into our awareness as real. As real. We're gonna put in the plug for Sweet Tooth right here on Netflix and say, well, what are the possibilities of that? Before we had X-Men or mutants or any of that. For a little girl, for me, it was just the things that people couldn't explain that was in the sideshow at the fair. So let's not operate like these things just showed up today. They did not. They've been around for a long while. And, we want to say fear, like the false evidence of things appearing real, the way that humanity has evolved with the things that they are afraid of, is how way showers and truth tellers and lighthouses stand tall and embody a safety net for humanity to reweave that better world we all know is possible. That better earth, that new earth that we must leave to our children and grandchildren and great grandchildren. Our godfather, the founder of Oyotunji African Village, always said, if you received a good bill of goods from your ancestors, they made a way, sacrifice, trailblaze for you. What do you intend to do? You would not hand a bill of goods that is any less the value or worth to your children or your children's children. And for me, that's true. And I hope it's true for you as well. So, these are the tools that we have, just a few of them, to help us really align with walking our talk. And I can say just from the events of this week and what I'm headed to in this weekend in various situations that we're having, the resolution of duality is not quite catching up with the awakening. Because actually, people will say things out their mouth and I look at them like, wow, did you just hear and really know where that came from? Or just like, your mouth opened and something fell out. So these parts of higher consciousness and owning higher consciousness and owning it in a way that is non-threatening to others, in a way that we are well but harming none. These, as you know, are some of the teachings of sacred activism. And for those of you that didn't register and, can't pull out the next 4 Tuesday evenings for 90 minutes, your good news is we have combined a lot of the teachings in those gatherings and settings of the Earth Skills Rendezvous. And I believe that's like the 15th through the 20th of April. Check your calendars and online. You can certainly find them. Rendezvous Earth Skills. We're more than 35, 36 years old now, so we've been around. And then Firefly, I believe, is in June. And we'll have more of these teachings of sacred activism, because if we're not in the act of making everything sacred, then we continue to move maybe within the AI zone of robots that just go through the motions. We just show up and do the pre-recorded version. And for some people, I guess that'll be all right. And then others of us know that we have a destiny much larger than that, much broader than that. When we reach that last breath before our exit ramp, we want to say, thou good and faithful servant, your work is done. If you want to know what's left behind, look at the life that was lived. These are things that, the old folks for us spoke of often, because that is the way in which they lived their lives, not as if what they bought or what they were wearing or who they were with mattered. What mattered for them is that the divine mission, as they came into the knowing of it, was met and completed. And, I think ultimately, deep down, that's what we're all trying to do right now in this season. So I'm going to look through these notes and see, is there anything else that is really important I went over all the classes there, but you can find those on the website. Um, the classes in the mystery school this season are resilience as a way of life, um, walking our talk in the fullness of medicine wheels, the study of how to put your life in organization and the different compartments of your life onto a medicine wheel and have like some balance in the sacred navigation of that. Like things are not all over the place in a million to-do lists. They actually have a rhythm and a season, and they move in the waxing of the moon and the waning of the moon. And many of them have a life of their own. And we just, like we stare at the car when we're driving, we just move through it very easily. So that's important. And let's see, truth telling or storytelling meets truth telling. What's the story your life is telling, and how much truth is in it, and are you comfortable with that? So those are there. We'll be celebrating the Festival of the Warriors and the Yoruba New Year in just a minute. I believe that's like 10 days away, maybe. The Yoruba New Year always comes around the spring equinox, and then following that, I believe it's the last weekend of March in Oyotunji. We will then be celebrating Alegbo, Ogun, and Oshosi. And just like a side note, the reading of the year for everyone this year. Ogun meant business, still means business. If you don't understand that, look it up in astrology and see what Mars is doing. And then, we can have another conversation about it. But we want to be friends with the energy, with the masculine power of Ogun this year. And the last temple time, I'm right. Then after March 26th is the retreat, which at this moment is set for April 4th through 7th. And yet my Arjubono over there in the ancestral realms keeps tugging at me because I've only been to one celebration of her oldest daughters, Ashe, and just who Oshun Tinibu is, if you know her. And I would really like to be there for that. So we don't have that many takers yet. It hasn't gotten there. We have probably almost a dozen pre-orders already, and we just opened that launch maybe a week ago. Yeah, other than our crowns, that's three. Not many have really signed on and said, yes, I have to do, I need to know all the facets of this truth tellers deck. And so, maybe it would be pushed back to the next weekend because we just hear a calling that says, we think you're going to be at Teeny Boo Celebration in Atlanta. So we'll keep you posted about that as it comes. We are just on the flyer for the pre-orders of True Tellers. We haven't quite gotten to the retreat yet. And, we're still in conversations with other women who do want to do the teaching. It's always a matter of how to open their schedules. I'll say a brief little something in closing about how we are in the self-tutorial maybe, or, as an older person trying to go to the real technical level of a podcast, which we've been hearing and hearing and hearing. Like we watch many tarot and mediums and psychics and astrologers, and for years now, when I say they, the truth tellers, my guides, my ancestors have told me to do it. That's what now we have our own deck, which is a lovely thing. But there are so many decks here for so many times. Oh my goodness, that I absolutely love, and with good reason. Like the deck we got in South Africa, which is the Ancestral Spirit or the Sacred Rebels. There are a number of decks by Alana Fairchild, I believe was her name. Yep. And the Black Angels deck. And now there are many more tarot decks by women of color. Oh my goodness. And so, to just kind of clock in, we're not sure how that's going to come yet. We're trying to settle it down a little bit. We're calling in, hold this prayer with us, that the Mystic School of Alchemy will actually find a geographical home this year, because Grammy's getting, a little over. We're kind of over packing and unpacking the car every 3 or 4 days. And doing 2 or 3 states in a week. We're kind of over it. We're ready for the mystic school of alchemy to exist with Queens of the Nile, wellness, and kind of like day spa, but also a lot of energy medicine work. In case you all are not aware of Dr. Mark or Hemke Center for Wholeness in Roswell, Georgia, we've been with Dr. Mark for like 25 years, and we find that energy medicine takes us where Western medicine just fell short. So the goal of having a mystery school combined with a wellness center, that'll settle us down, and you younger folks that can do all that driving and packing and stuff can come to us. So there is a plan. It's there's a definite plan, and some of the events leading up to that require deep work on our compound in Oyotunji, which still needs running water and electricity. We don't mind living by candlelight and filling our jugs with water. It keeps us humble. And so there are a lot of good things happening. It's not easy. And I'm thankful to all my beloved kindred, and you each know who you are, that have stepped in to support us, whether that's a phone call or that's pre-ordering a deck or that's just saying, hey, come hang out at my house. Nobody will know where you're at. You could paint or write or just sit still and have tea. And so these things keep us going, really. They keep us going at this point. Um, so much love and respect for my husband. I promise you all, when it's all said and done, that like you have to have that person who respects your life and your destiny and the purpose that you are here. And my husband's a very simple country man, and so he doesn't even run in all those circles. We asked him once because people who have known us for a while and I guess never saw the wedding ring were like, yeah, you have a husband? Who knew? And how come you don't bring him, out to these Earth Skills events and stuff like that? And so I said, well, let me make you laugh and say that when we first moved to Oyotunji to enter into the ancestral priesthood and the Orisha priesthood, my husband wasn't interested in that either. He very quickly said, hey, I grew up where the chickens were scratching the dirt. You kind of hanging out down there in the same. I'm good. Don't even need to do that. And, he's just not that person. But people were asking me, where's your husband do? What does he think of what you do? For goodness sake, you must come and go like this. And what does he think? And I said, well, A, he was a whole person when I met him. He's still a whole person. And B, I did ask him, and he said, I tell him you do workshops. And I said, well, what kind of workshops? And he said, spiritual. And he is a man of few words, but he just covered it. And that's the amazing thing, is that when we really open our third eye and really look at what has been placed in front of us to see not what we want to see necessarily, but what is being reflected back from the mirror of that other person, we can see most clearly divinity in them. We can see most clearly who they are to us and who we are to them. And so, for those of you that I am in the beauty of that relationship with, love, love, love. And to those of you that I haven't even met yet, more love, love, love. And have a blessed weekend. Know that we're moving to a dark moon in Pisces. Know that you have the opportunity to rebirth yourself in any way you choose, but choose wisely. So much love, peace, and joy.